Hello and welcome back to China. We are in Songtang village today for the final event of the 2019 World Cup. It is a sprint event. We're going to start first with the men's race and then move on to the women's race. And today we've moved to what is closer to the real China. We're in this village that is, parts of it are 800 years old. Drive away from the main streets and suddenly you're in this, almost this oasis. You can imagine it being in the middle of the countryside, but it's pretty much in the middle of the city in Foshan in southern China. And we're going to hopefully have a very exciting, very dynamic sprint race today in some really special terrain. The teams have been training model events, training events in similar terrain. They are ready for very narrow alleyways that they're going to have to navigate through during the entire competition. It's very, very relentless, and when you're running at such high speed, it's going to be a very interesting one. Let's have a look at the standings. So after the middle distance on Saturday, the eventual jury decision was to reinstate all the athletes. You can find the full jury statement on the IOF's website, but it does show Gustav Bergman has already won this year's World Cup, but there are 3 men here in with a chance of being in the eventual top 3. Olaf Lundenez isn't here, but we do have Joey Haddon, Daniel Hoodman and Wojtek Klau, who are all mathematically capable, and Frederic Tonchon, who are all capable of making it into those top 3 spots. So they will be racing for those points that will be given out after today's race and will decide the overall World Cup. It is, shall we say, well, very warm, but particularly very sunny here today. We've got this sort of commentary position in this little porch outside this building, and the sun, let me tell you, is strong. There is actual blue sky here, properly bright blue sky that I don't think I've seen all the time we've been here. And there's a mixture of some orienteering fans, and I think just some of the local villagers who've turned up to see what all the fuss is going on in their village, outside their houses. It is beautiful. And let's have a look at just what the athletes are going to be faced with today. Yes.
Here we have the map, and I can tell you it's perfect sprint orienteering terrain here. It starts with a tricky part. We don't have that many route choices, but the alleys here are narrow, and it will be all about executing all the way to control 6 actually, and then we have a route choice to control number 7. From there you get a bit more time in reading. You're not in all the time in this alleys and have to take quick decisions, so it gives you a chance to speed up a little bit. You have to adapt your orienteering technique here. It's not all about left or right. My opinion is that often you try to make it quite simple in this part and try to high up the speed. Then we have the arena passage at control 16, another long leg here. Here it's not really about the route choices. You can take many different ways. As long as you come through to control 17, everything is okay. Control 17, 18, there's a way on the top over the hill. I guess that will be the fastest. Then you will have to change again all the way almost to control 21. You will get back in these narrow alleys, and you have to be very careful to not lose the contact with the map. Control 22, again, quite physical leg. It's all about running fast there to the finish. But overall, you have to be careful. It's easy to lose contact with the map if you're overpacing, and it will be all about having focus all the way. We don't have that many route choices here. It won't be that deciding, but you can lose time here, and you have to be a good sprint orienteer to be fast here.
And will the athletes also be trying to look for places where they can run fast in terms of when they're taking their route choice? Not really in the first part. I think there you just have to be careful, and you will never really run at 100%. In the middle section, for sure, you will get the chance to high up. Here you see in the picture how narrow
those alleys are, some of them.
These aren't even the most narrow ones.
Not yet, no.
Not yet at this point.
So very soon we will see some of the incredibly narrow passages. Let's wait. Here we go.
So this section is one that is mapped, so they are allowed to go through this point. The second one, this one here, since I ran down it, it's now been made olive green out of bounds. It's too narrow to go down. But then there's the next one again. As you can see, Carl was struggling to keep up with me just because you really have to lower the speed to go through these parts to get to the control, and then you go out. So it's making sure you spot the right passageways.
That's the difficulty here. I mean, as long as you're in the alleys, you can see them, but when you're running along this bigger alley and have to find those smaller ones going to the left or to the right, you have to be careful to not run past them.
What about this route choice here?
Yeah, we see two different route choices. The blue one is definitely the shorter one. But it's kind of hard to see because you have to back out from the control. So I still think this is a good route there. Here you have another route. There's also a possibility to go more straight between the houses. I think you can make it a bit more straight there in between, and I guess that would be what most of the runners will do.
Yeah, a version of the red athlete. So the start list today is in a reverse order of the World Cup rankings. So Gustav Bergman, who's already won the World Cup, is starting last, and a lot of these athletes we see now on the start list have already begun and finished their races. But of the start list, looking towards the end, who are we looking for to be setting good fast times?
Well, I mean, we have some guys still fighting for the top 3 in the World Cup. I expect them to be good. There we have Fredrik Troncho, Wojtek Kral, Daniel Hopman, Joey Haddon. But also we have Matthias Kiburtz, who is a good sprint orienteer. We have Andreas Kiburtz. I mean, there are Kasper Fosse. There are many good runners here, and it's hard to pick any of those out here. But of course, as longer into the competition we get, the bigger the names, and I expect one of the last starters to win this.
Yeah, although we do have someone like Yannick Michels, who won the sprint in Laufen in Switzerland. He's starting relatively early compared to those big names, but that's because this is based on the overall World Cup, where there's been a mixture of the forest and the sprint orienteering, and that means for some of those sprint-only athletes, maybe they're starting a little bit earlier than some of the others.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, he has been here and has been running in China before. He's one of the experienced guys here. So, and he won the last World Cup race. So, of course, the only other one sprint race we have seen in the World Cup so far. So, of course, he's one of the favorites here as well.
Yep, absolutely. So we can see that last page of starters. That's where we're really expecting those incredibly fast times to come from. They've all been, as I said, going to the model event, and we've seen a lot of pictures on Instagram or whatever of people running through this through the model events, and we were commenting that it looked very, very similar to the area we're in right now. So there has been an opportunity to practice it.
There's Nick Simonin. He almost forgot his map here. Start. And now you really have to use this time here on the first meters to get a glimpse at the map, because very soon you have to lower the speed a little bit. The route to the first control is actually, it's quite easy to find it, but then you might be surprised a little bit by how narrow the alleys are, and you have to adapt yourself to it. So it is not that easy. This is control 5, I guess, on the way to control 6. Where we have the first TV split.
And a lot of the difficulty, for example, on that control is making sure you get the right alleyway coming off the water as well, but no problems here. For Bonnet,
Yeah,
although I was
some
going to say there
problems.
were some problems. This is when you're reading ahead and you're not in that moment, trying to get, and possibly that's because of the route choice to the next control, to control number 7, and you've got to make that quick decision. And thinking about that, you miss just missing the control. You've seen it often.
On the women, her lead is 29 seconds, so it's quite big lead in both men and women.
This is Aleksi Ruohola from Finland.
Topi Surulainen as well.
They both have started really, really hard, straight from the beginning.
And these last few seconds, you've got to try and look across the clock, get the focus. There has been a map previously for this event. Not for the event, but a map that they've been able to use, been able to set some courses, and they'll be able to try and get their bearings as to where they are and think about maybe what might come ahead. But you can see, really, at this point, you can see already they've had to lower the speed in order to kind of get the right focus and to get the right alleyways through this point. Again, this looks like control number 5. Vegard Jovis Vestergaard in here on his way to control number 6. This is our first split. The current leader at the first split is Joya Lee, who is still the current leader at the finish with a time of 15 minutes 23, 47 seconds faster than anybody else at this point, which is very surprising considering he was the 4th starter in this competition. But there's a lot of unknowns about the Chinese athletes who, especially if they don't race that much in Europe, and haven't got any world ranking points and World Cup points.
The first split is 42 seconds behind already. That's too much, I believe.
Adrien Delen,
You need to be closer to Lee right there in the beginning. 42 seconds behind there for Vegard Järvis Vestergaard. And Emil Öbro, Denmark, 59 seconds behind already at the first split. So it is a very challenging area, you can say. From China. The current leader, still the current leader, and Li Suye from China. He was the first man to finish today, and he's still in lead, 15:23. We are waiting now for some interesting.
So here we have some comparison to the first control.
From Sweden and Anine Lome from Norway. Two strong names there on the starting line. Waiting for the start very soon.
See a small mistake there by Öbro. Not really leaving the control as he should.
No, it looks like there's problems both on the choice and hesitations there as well. I'm quite amazed we've had some GPS. We know the GPS is going to be really difficult to get in amongst all these really, really small alleyways. So we're going to have to do our best to see where people are making mistakes, because we do expect there to be a lot of mistakes out on the course.
Yeah, I mean, not a I don't really know if we will see these big mistakes when they will be standing and relocating, but we will definitely see runner missing some of the alleys and having to continue to the next one and then make a slightly longer distance to the controls.
So this
Yeah,
is
the leader.
Julia Lee. Chris Medard in there. This looks like on the way to the 6th control. You can see the time. He's already late on the leading time. Still a Chinese athlete who's a leader at the finish. And just really checking. And this is, you can see, with the intensity, the high intensity of those first few controls, you haven't been able to make that decision about the route choice from control 6 to control 7.
I mean, it's not the high intensity as we know from other sprint races when you're physically running and high intense, but it's the orienteering keeping you busy in your head all the time, and you never really get the time to be ahead of the problems that are coming, and it makes it hard to decide the route choice.
Looks like a
Yeah, you see it there at the second control. It's easy to just continue in the direction you came. Like you approach the control, and then they are not really ready to change direction directly. Actually, they would have needed to stop there and first decide the route before going to the next control.
Looks like some mistake there from Tepi Sirolainen, but uncertain what it is. We don't really, when they go into the buildings, it's really hard for us to tell where they actually are. But we do get a better indication when they come out towards the pond areas.
But there we see that Sirolainen went up a wrong alley. No, maybe not. No, probably not.
No, I don't think so. That's just the well, orienteers, you know anyway from running in the city, anything like that, that the GPS is really difficult to get it accurate. But and in this terrain, it's very different. So Tim Robertson setting off there with a very different, very young photo of him. Yeah. It looks like on the graphics that we have there. Eduardo Gil Marcos there from Spain. A very small Spanish team have made it over to China, but they are generally better at sprinting than they are in the forest. With the likes of Andrew Blanes also on the Spanish team.
Even though he hasn't been competing for quite a while in orienteering, more focusing on running and trail running.
Let's have a look again. So this is the routes of the Spaniard compared to the current leader, Zhuo Yeli. So this time, Gil making the... it looks like he got the right passage out of control number 2, but then, I mean, it's I feel like we can't really say anything else about this tracking. It's really hard.
Yeah, but you see how Gil Marcos is losing time like almost all the time, so he's not really as quick in his head as as Zhuo Yeli is. He's doing a good race so far. He has done all the way to the finish. Since he's the leader there, 15 minutes 08, and this is Tim Robertson.
Yeah, it's on his way to the control number 5, first of all, which should just be around this corner, but you can see that little hesitation just within the circle to make sure the location and where he's going next. And his time is already slower than the Chinese athletes, than 2 Chinese athletes as well. But Tim Robertson is one who's very experienced in China. He's come here a lot, was racing in the Park World Tour the first couple of events before this World Cup final. So he goes
This is
into,
very interesting.
is that into
It
ninth?
is home for Veronica Parin.
Eric Borgeskog in the start.
He's quite a strong sprinter as well, Borgeskog.
But you can really, I think you can really see out of the start that you're already having to check back on the speed and to really make sure that you're looking at all the routes, and that's going to affect the speed throughout most of the run. There aren't many times, I mean, maybe towards like after the second TV split, but there aren't many times where you can really feel like you can push the speed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in some parts of the course, as you named it, after control 6, the first TV control, we get some controls, quite many actually, almost all the way to control 16, 17, where you get into a mode that's more like the sprint orienteering mode you're used to, when still you have many decisions, still it's narrow, but it's more the feeling that you're used to. You get there. You have a bit more time every now and then to get ahead with your orienteering, so you can be more attacking in your execution of the leg.
So the comparison with the routes of Florian Schneider, who we just saw at the TV control.
Li from China, 13 seconds faster than Diga Cheng, also from China. So that's a great start from Zhongyu Li from China. Waiting soon for Josefin Chandler, Sweden. We have a good start to the first bit. So let's see. Very interesting to see Josefin Chandler, Sweden. Soon to the second bit.
Kenny Kivikas from Estonia.
Albeck here. Again, looks like this is just bunch of fifth control onto the sixth, and dropping time already compared to the Chinese leaders. And into the 20th position.
16:05.119 behind Diga Cheng from China. Still the current leader, but some threats now for Diga Cheng. It is both her teammates.
So again, let's have a look. See if we can make anything out from the GPS. It's clear that the Chinese athlete really, attacked it from the start, was already in a good position out from the first part. Here's Eric Borgeskog, and you can see him, he is also late. On his way to the sixth control, and amongst these really tiny alleyways. Here he is, into 14th, equal 14th with Adrien Delen. And looking pretty smooth there through the transitions of the control.
Behind Diga Cheng from China. Waiting now for the start for the very, very experienced
From Aston Key. And he's actually had one of the fastest starts compared to those we've seen through this point, when they're already about 14 seconds or so down. So good start from Aston Key, medal winner at this year's Junior World Championships. And he goes into equal 5th place currently.
The junior world champion this year from Australia just punched the first split in fifth place.
So talking about experience and the experienced runner also in Chinese terrain. He has been here many times to do the part 1-2 races.
Yeah, he really loves racing here, and whilst this is still quite specialised terrain, and there are some similar parts to this in China, but you can see really carefully looking at each of, almost like you could almost see him counting each of the alleyways there and just going, hey, that's that one, that's that one, that's the next one, that's the one I want.
I can tell you, if you can't count to 5, you will have a hard time today, because you will need it all the time, counting the alleys.
Kenny Kivikas, a little hesitation there. He's just not got the distance right, I think, on this running along the edge of the pond to get this control, and really carefully trying to just, you can see just the percentage of the time that he's looking at that map there shows just how much map contact you need, I think.
Yeah, and it shows me also that he must have lost a little bit of his self-confidence in the beginning, because this is one of the first times you would actually get quite an easy way to the control, or at least to the next alley, and you could almost feel how much he's liking the situation, that he can get ahead with his orienteering, not always being behind. So I think you could see that he lost some of his self-confidence in the beginning.
And he's also choosing that other route round, so the one that we think is slower. It's definitely like 50 meters longer, so that's pretty significant. But these are the standings at Control 6, the one we've just seen there, with the 2 Chinese athletes currently in the lead. Thomas Heikkila was in 3rd at that point, but still at that point the seconds reasonably close. Another Finn next to start, Joni Hervikalio, number 81.
And 14:46, almost half a minute late, and let's see Josephine Chandler soon through that. At the same time, Tim Robertson in second position, but he is 42 seconds behind. He is Suji from China. I'm impressed by the Chinese running today. Really good race from I must say. And the top three, sorry, this is Axel Rolla, who will get the top zero very soon to the last short of the finish. Axel Rolla in the 17th position right now.
And into the finish, Axel Rohla just went into 17th there. This is the last control. As you can see, people are waiting for Topi Sirolainen, and you can see, look there, he is already a minute and a half behind. So we see one of the Chinese runners in there, Li Yongyu, and we're still waiting for Topi Sirolainen, athlete from Finland. And you can see Sirolainen's time is really dropping down the list now. We've got 114 starters in the men's race today. And it's still pretty early days in terms of this competition.
I also say that Sirolainen, he must have done a mistake here in the end. Quite a big one. He was 1 minute and 16 behind at the pre-warning.
Part of me is thinking, have we missed him? But we're still waiting here at this last control for the Finn. Here we go. Adrian Delaine and Chris Smithard both running into the finish. Delaine crosses the line to go 5th fastest. His time 16 minutes 29, 106 slower than Joya Lee, and Sirolainen crosses in 38. Goodness me, something must have gone wrong at the end. Chris Millard crossed in 22nd position. So Sirolainen there, 38th, and definitely dropping at the our pre-finish pre-warning. He was 1:16 slower. So as we see, Peter Hodkinson ran, I think, second leg for the British team in the sprint relay on Sunday, and just checking all the different alleyways as you go from the start, just throwing almost straight into it. Joni Hervikaliu here, that was control number 5, and you can see he's already slower than the Chinese athlete at that point. This is the 6th, and you can see making the decision. Oh, the wrong decision made. That route is 50 meters longer than if you're going right. Let's have a look here.
Now we see maybe the answer on the question why Sirolainen lost that much time here. Yeah, that's not the place he should be. Some problems here after the arena passage, some problems with direction, and then bad decision to the next control as well. There you should go over the hill, but
and then he was navigating to some of the other controls, to 20 and 21, I think.
Yeah.
So
just jumped over a control there.
Yeah.
To go to the first of those controls there.
So it looks like that all fell apart at the end. Tim Robertson finishing second place, 33 seconds slower than Joya Lee.
I mean, you could feel before at Sirolainen, it was like a chain reaction. Yeah. He had this bad direction or bad control just after the arena passage, and then was just stressing into the next decision and the next decision, and never really got back into it, and then he lost a lot of time here.
What do you have to do to get back into it? It's really
I mean,
hard.
he would have. Often you have a feeling about that you're not in the place you want to be, and I don't mean about like the position on the map, but with your in your head,
yes.
mentally, yeah. And then you have to stop and just refocus in this, at least in his position, because he knew that it just came from a mistake. He must have felt that not everything is as you normally do it when you plan a route to the next control, and then he should take time to do that.
Max Vesterbemer is the next start. Swede had a good leg in the sprint relay in the TV movie town on Sunday.
Also one of the runners who was I mean, he did a great race at middle distance. He was running into this area where Kasper Fosser just continued, and he lost a lot of time there. Otherwise, it could have been a top 3 for him in the middle distance as well. He was also good at the Park World Tour races, where he beat Yannick Michels. So certainly a name who can, or a runner who can do very well today.
So we just missed that. That was a new fastest time from Maxime Rotorier from France. He's gone 3 seconds faster than Joya Lee, and he's actually caught up a lot of time, like 30 seconds. And oh no, hang on, maybe not 30, maybe 20 seconds.
And I mean, that is kind of proof of the fact that it is, when it is very special orienteering, Chinese orienteering with these small alleys, tight, narrow alleys, which we don't really have that often in Europe. They probably train in it a lot, and Joya Lee was so fast in this first part, but in the second part, when it is more more similar to the sprint orienteering we used to, you can see that Maxime Rotorier, he was very fast and could take a lot of time compared to Joya Lee.
A well-paced race, especially you seeing like Tippi Sirolainen making mistakes at the end. You've really got to be able to keep that focus the whole way around the course. The end part is easier, but there's still a section that you go through with still the very narrow alleyways, and you have to keep that focus the whole way round. Marek Minard on screen there. On his way to control number 6, here he is, and let's have a look. He's stopping completely still to make that decision. He does make the right one though. We've seen a few people, including Peter Hodgkinson, just then make the wrong decision on that
and I mean,
route choice.
if you compare the time he was losing by stopping, might have been 2 seconds, compared to the time he will win back, or at least not lose, by doing a wrong route decision there, I think it was worth it.
Tobias Pezzati looks like he's had a good start to the course, and I was very impressed with him in the knockout sprint, particularly at the World Cup in Switzerland.
He did he made his own race and took many own decisions, and that's kind of a proof that he has the confidence, at least in his technique. Maybe not really in his physical skills, since he doesn't really he didn't try and dare to follow the others and couldn't rely on his sprint on the last meters, but he knew that his orienteering is good, so he can take other decisions and hopes that they are good. It will pay off in the end.
I mean, I want to say something about this GPS, but it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, but you can say that compared to the leader at the moment, Pezzati is quite much faster here. This is Max Peter Beimer, so let's see now.
Well, Pezzati went through into, he was 1 second slower than Roturier, who's our current leader at the finish, so pretty good start. But here's Max Peter Beimer, as you said. On to this 6th control. A lot of changes of direction, as you see, and oh no, he hasn't just.
And then the wrong decision.
Yeah, what we think, well, in terms of distance, it's longer. We think it's therefore going to be slower. We haven't had any confirmation in terms of looking at any of the GPS that it's slower, but it's when a route is 50 meters longer, 50 meters longer, it's considerable, I think.
Yeah, and it's not as if the street and path you go around to the right there, it's not the fastest one. It's kind of gravel, and it's not like it is here. It's not a real street, so we won't even have this advantage. So I really think it's slower.
Yeah. Jonas Vitatis Kvildis is the next to find control number 6, the Lithuanian, and he'll just lose him quickly, and then we'll see him come around the corner and punch this control. So joint 11th currently, and well, he was one who'd already made that decision, but making the wrong decision, we think, there.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is they're not really synced here. I mean, when we saw the GPS before, comparison between Pezzati and Roturier, it seemed that Pezzati was way ahead, but actually it was only a second at the TV control later.
But I think Roturier's chosen like maybe the simpler route, but going round, like almost doing a 90-degree turn, whereas a lot of the others have chosen to go through that little track through the gardens at that point.
This is Ricardo Scalet. He was 13th in the World Cup race, the only other sprint we had this year in the World Cup in Switzerland, in Laufen.
And I think he was on the podium for one of the Park World Tour races in the week before this competition. So some good sprint form, as well as good sprint form in China as well. And this is what I'm saying about this different route from the Frenchman, I think, choosing the different way to go to the first control. But that means you can keep it simple, maybe increase the speed, and especially when you can run straight down a long alleyway, you can get some speed at that point. As we see Alexei Niemi choosing a different route choice, one we haven't seen very often, to control number 6. Maybe again here seeking to pick up some speed, run longer next to the pond, and then going back in and out the same way. Back at the start. Milos Nikodim begins his race. And he had good speed on the middle distance race. I think it finished 11th, but without the mistake, well, going into the olive green area, realizing turning back round, if you discount that leg, I think he would have been in 6th. Robert Merle now on his way to the 6th control. Austrian. Let's see how he manages to make this decision. Made the decision in good time and also what we believe the correct decision. So good job from Robert Merle. And back again at the start. Adam Heimdal. And it seems here that we're getting a sense now of people who are able to run that little bit quicker out of the start and still have that good contact with the map and still have a good amount of time making the decisions about how to get to the first control and beyond as well, but still keeping that speed high as well. Christoph Meyer here, also on his way to control number 6, taking that the route that goes more along, just like that one alley further along. And we'll see him back up here, and then he should go and turn back the way he came.
Not the best start for Christoph Meyer. Did a very good race in Switzerland as well. Was ended up in 9th position there. But here it's, I mean, the gap is a bit too big here. 34 seconds after 4 minutes of running. That's quite a bit, quite many seconds behind there already.
Yeah, that's quite significant. But Albin Riederfeld, he looks like he's had a decent start. He's only a couple of seconds away from the control now.
That kind of shows how technical it must be here in the first part. He's very strong when it comes, I mean, it's a very good technique and is fast in making decisions, but maybe not the typical sprint orienteer.
No, but he's, as you said, good at making those technical decisions and made the correct one here anyway.
Of course he's a good sprint orienteer, but not the one we would highlight as a specialist in that matter. And it shows that if you have these tricky decisions and maybe not have to run full speed, he can be very good there in the beginning.
Comparison with Max. Oh, that's the wrong Roturier. That's why we are confused, I think, because Maxime Roturier is the fastest, and that's Quentin Roturier. So it's hard for us to tell with the GPS. Going through the really, really narrow streets, it's really difficult. So Jonas Ecker is the next to start. Swiss athlete.
Second one who forgets to take the map with him after Nick Simonin.
And now this is one of the really interesting athletes that we have on this start line. Starting relatively early, as barely does any forest races, but Yannick Michael's the winner of the sprint in Switzerland. Can he make it to sprint wins? He's also pretty comfortable in the terrain here. He's come to the Park World Tour 8 times. He's done lots of training here, and when is not going to be less surprised by how it looks and by the challenges that he's going to face.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a real specialist for the sprint. He's training a lot when it comes to this discipline, and this for sure will be an advantage, because the others, as you said before, we have only had one sprint race this season. We didn't have it at the World Championships, so the focus for many of the runners was on the forest disciplines, and he didn't focus on any forest discipline, so he just continued training sprint, and of course he has his running going on, his athletics, and for him it's an advantage that we will have the World Championships every second year, because then he can be more of a specialist now.
Yeah. Ralph Street next to start, third place in that knockout sprint in Switzerland. Gauter Hallenstever here on his way to control number 6. And looks like he's had a pretty good fast start at this point. If you're within, say, these in these about 10-15 seconds, that is a good indication of a fast start. But then here, trying to just dropping the pace considerably. Oh, it's a shame we didn't see which way he went. But trying to get this replay of Gauter Hallenstever going through the small track there. Back at the start, Mika Kirmela. Just checking the time and the compass as well, and really now he gets his first look at the course. And into the first control. So Jonas Ecker is...
It almost seems that he is trying to point out a different thing with his right hand there.
Yeah. Just having a good look around him, making sure he's really aware of all the detail. But he's... I mean, at this point, that's not too far down, but into that top 20.
This is Andreas Kiebert's very last World Cup race today. Had some good results this week here in China, with a 4th position in the middle distance.
Yannick Michels here into the 5th control, first of all, which is just around the side of this building. Oh no, sorry, he's already punched it, my bad. And
still, I mean, that's quite a good start here.
Yeah. If you think you've got to maybe look at, I don't know, Tim Robertson's time, Maxime Autori's time, who in top 3 currently. So 11 seconds behind is pretty good. Via Pensati now at the finish, and it should be a new 3rd best time, going into 3rd place here for the Swiss athletes. So 15:52, 32 seconds off the pace, but that's a pretty good one considering, I mean, our times at the moment are pretty stretched out. The top 10 going a minute, spread out over the minutes. And so Tibia Pezzati just will have his head in the map, just checking again, immediately having your head back in the map, analysing what happened. Ralph Street is here. He's on his way to control number 6, takes the 2nd option, and you can see he's already say, if we see them when they pass the camera and they're already seconds down, then you've not had the best of starts. 103. Gerner Insane is the next to begin, the Austrian. He's getting psyched up on that start line. This start, which is in the, I was going to kind of say arena, but it's a bit of a dispersed arena with the ponds around. So, but the start is right next to the finish almost, and immediately into reading the detail of the map, trying to get some high speed and some confidence when you can this easier section, and finding the correct alleyway to go down the correct street. Back at on the way to control 6, Mika Kirmela. And now this is not a good start from Kiemela. You can see him on the way up this track, just trying to make this decision about the next control. And he makes the right one, but I think you can see from the way you're kind of shortening the strides, the quick legs and short strides, that the speed has dropped. Now let's have a look here. So we're comparing Kiemela with Quentin Retourrier.
So waiting for Casper Versonen. What a race so far from Albin Riedefeld.
We should be comparing with the other Retourrier, who is actually leading.
I think it's because he's the only one taking the route to the first control that we are comparing there.
Yes.
Andreas Kiburtz also lost some time here in the beginning.
Yeah, he's already lost time, dropping down more seconds all the time into 35th. And, oh, stop. You can see, well, he stopped, it was kind of sidestepping to the left. Just, he kind of half made the decision and then completely made the decision at that point.
Not much to see there.
Punch there for Hovald. That's control number 5. And now he'll run.
Yeah, that's quite
Not a bad
okay
start. It's okay. Trying to judge it by the time they pass the camera. If you were in around 0 seconds there, then that's pretty decent.
I mean, we have seen Maxime Retourrier. He has been behind here as well.
Yeah.
Still is in the lead in the finish, so as long as you're not like half a minute behind, that seems too much, but there's 20 seconds, that's still seems to be okay.
But it's that's also showing the speed they have through this really narrow technical terrain, and there's still more of it that comes, so it gives us the impression that even though maybe we're saying a difference between 20 and 30 seconds, that may not seem that much, where we say 20 seconds is pretty good, 30 seconds not very, but that's an indication of how well they're orienteering and how well they will orienteer through the rest of the terrain, the kind of speed that they have through these really small alleys.
It was Alden, sorry. It was Alden first of all. Alden Häggdahl was. He is 45 seconds behind Albin Riedefeld. And then we are waiting for Scouten. No, it was Scouten. There is Scouten, Hanna Saber. Punches it. 6 seconds behind Albin Riedefeld.
I tried to read out anything from here. They were quite similar. I took different routes to the first control, but it seems that they're quite head-to-head there.
Luca Basset, 3rd place in the middle distance. Heading out onto the course, and yeah, really got some good speed. So picking his knees up at this point, and but head all the way in the map. Now trying to look ahead and see these alleys to get the right one to go down there, and trying to keep then good pace through this very narrow section.
He looked quite confident there from the start. Great speed, and we've seen some other runners hesitating a little bit. It feels that he has a good, I mean, he was very confident running on those first let's say 100 meters, and of course it doesn't say a lot, but it gives an indication about how he feels about the terrain and what feeling he got from the trainings and so on.
Yeah, confidence and attack. We're waiting for Casper Fossa to, I think, is this control number 5 just around the corner from this camera angle? We're waiting for the Norwegian, and this is his time. He should be here very, very shortly. There he is, coming around to punch this one, and actually this looks like a pretty good start, I'd say, from the Norwegian. Silver medalist at the World Championships in the long distance, where for a good part of the course he had the speed to be able to match the king of the forest, the king of the long distance anyway, Olaf Lundenes, who isn't here this weekend. The Norwegians having more of a sprinting team, but back at the finish. It looks like Albin Riedefeld, I think, and he's on his way to the finish. He looks like he will go into third place. Lost a few seconds, but pretty good. How did Kasper Fosse do?
Kasper Fosse punched the first TV control in 9th position, 14 seconds behind the leader Zhuoye Li.
So decent start at that point. So Albin Ludefeld went into third place. Matthias Kibert here, heading out at the start and
reading quite a lot of map contact there on the way to the start point.
And looking out to the left as well, out onto the lake to try and get some information from there. Didn't look the fastest though. It didn't look quite as confident and comfortable as the likes of Luca Basset.
Well, at least not as attacking from the very beginning.
Emil Svensk here, again, almost seems like he almost missed the control and waiting a lot here. And really to have that camera there, to put that pressure on you when you're hesitating there and you're making that decision, I think...
don't really think it's the camera that's making the pressure, it's that they never get the chance to look ahead and then suddenly you get a route choice decision to take, and then it's... You don't really expect it after the first controls. It's a total change of sprint orienteering. First you only have this execution, this part where it's all about execution, then suddenly you have a route choice and you're not prepared and you have to take a decision. So it's a good thing to stop, but you can see them how they are struggling with not being ahead, because every sprint orienteer likes to be ahead and have the route choice decided already before punching the control.
Luca Basset here, and actually at our pre-warning control for this first split, he was in 4th place and only 6 seconds down on the lead. He's lost 20 seconds just between that pre-warning.
Control 3 and Control 6.
So let's see, he is 18 seconds behind.
So that is pretty significant. Now Wouter Kral here begins his race.
So
I want to say a knockout sprint specialist, but maybe a little bit too early to say that.
I mean, he won sprint races as well in his career in the World Cup, so definitely one of the stronger sprint orienteers we have here at the starting line.
And he's, in fact, there's only three starters now. Now Gaute Hallenstever into the finish, goes 3rd fastest. His time, 15:31. Maxime Rotorier is still the leader at this point. Gaute Hallenstever goes 3rd. Still 2nd place is Zhuoye Li, the Chinese athlete. Back at the start, Daniel Hupman, 3rd currently, so 4th currently in the World Cup. Overall was reinstated on the middle distance after the jury's decision. If you want to see more on that, go to the IOF website. There's a statement there from the jury.
And now we're really in this deciding part of the race, where we'll have the fight for the 2nd and 3rd position in the overall World Cup. So the runners fighting for those places are Joey Hadon, Daniel Hupman, Wouter Kral and Frédéric Tronchon, even though I don't think that Frédéric Tronchon will have a chance to get up on these top 3 positions.
Matthias Kibert here, and punches the control within 20 seconds, that'll do. And hesitating a bit, but not as dramatic as we've seen some of them, and makes the correct one as well. And do we see Joey Hadon at the start? But Yannick Michels is at the finish. He's punching the last controls. We see Joey Hadon at the start, but I'm more interested in what Yannick Michels can do, because can he get the new best time here at the finish? We're looking now for, as we see Joey Hadon high up, but here's Yannick Michels. Here he is. Can he get the new best time here? And he does. He gets the new best time by 2 seconds, 15:18. Yannick Michels goes fastest, and you can see, I think, if you look on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, how he was behind in a lot of the early running. Not too much behind, but managed to catch up and was only in the green in the last few controls. In fact, at our control, which one's that? 21. No, which is number 51, 21. He was 8 seconds behind the Chinese athletes, and at the finish 5 seconds faster, so really taking that. Here is the last starter, Gustav Bergman. He's already won this World Cup overall after the results from the middle distance, and which he won. Let's see what he can do here. Now Wojtek Kral here, interesting name here. Now what can he do? And at this point, it looks pretty good. He's got minus seconds at this point, so that looks very good. A good start from the athlete from the Czech Republic. It's the sprint specialist, and to be this time at this point is very, very good indeed. Same time as Albin Riedefeld, who is currently 6th at the finish. If he's able to keep it clean, then there is a good chance for him to do well. Let's have a confirmation of those standings at the finish, with Yannick Michels just coming in to take the new leading time here. Maxime Motoré, with the run of his orienteering career so far, still in 2nd place. The Chinese athlete Li Zhuoye in 3rd still too. Albin Riedefeld in that 6th place. Tobias Pezzati we saw in the 7th there too. Ralph Street actually just went into 9th place at the finish. Daniel Hubman here. And you can see comparison, if we compare the seconds to Wojtek Kral, as we see him passing this camera, we know he is slower than the Czech athlete. But Daniel Hubman, very technical orienteer. Will he be able to profit from this technical terrain? 21st, currently 23 seconds down, not too bad.
But compared to Wojtek Kral, there were some seconds, and it will be interesting to compare him later on to Joey Hadorn as well. Here we have Hubman against Yannick Michels. Quite similar decisions here in the beginning. See, I think they will have some difference here in the route choices, maybe. Let's see it. Here's Joey Hadorn. This is quite a good start here for Joey.
Yeah, I'd say this is pretty good. And we'll get the time as he punches this 6th control, but it's going to be equal with Michels, who has just recently taken the new leading time at the finish. So pretty good start from Hadorn.
Important for him. He is ahead of Wojtek Kral, and he is also ahead of Daniel Hubman.
We have Andreas Kibert into the finish. Looking for a top 10 finish here. 7th place, equal with his teammate with Pezzati. And we also have Mika Kirmala finishing in 36th place as well. So Andreas Kibert's time, 15 minutes, 52 seconds. Here's the last starter, here's Gustav Bergman. And he's had a fantastic start compared to everybody else. I've not seen anybody else that fast over this part of the course.
Well, we have the Chinese, who is as fast as him, or even faster.
Not anyone recently, anyway. Oh. But just kind of goes through. I was just checking that you could run through that part, and you could, so that's fine. That's like a semi-open area, and
you're starting to be careful here with olive green.
I am being careful here with the olive green, but he could go through that. So the standings there, you can see Gustav Bergman going into equal 3rd place at that punch. Still those 2 Chinese athletes, with everybody now having gone through that point. Those 2 in that leading position there, but we know they didn't have quite the speed at the end, where maybe it changed to style of course. But really anybody here in these this top 20 with it in with a shout.
I mean, I think that Shoei Lee had the speed actually, but was losing some time on the route to the last control because at the pre-warning he was still ahead of Yannick Michels, 8 seconds, and I don't think he would lose 13 seconds from that point to the finish just physically. So I think he had the speed, but maybe not really the technique all the way in to the finish. So this is this first part, and we have Hoopman, Michels in the comparison. And here we are together with Martin Rikborg. That's the first time now we are in this part of the race with the camera. It's on the way to the 15th control here, to the right, and then back to the 16th, the arena passage. This is control 15. So very soon he will be at the arena passage.
Here he is.
You're not allowed to jump over the wall there, so you have to go around. And I think we have already seen
Matthias Kibberts, I
in
think.
the background there, yeah.
Yep.
Here he is.
So Matthias Kibberts went into 5th place. 23 seconds,
So
but behind Michels, he is 9 seconds slower than Yannick Michels. He is our current leader at the finish. So Matthias Kibberts through there. We're looking for, there's 5 more runners to go through that point. I think, there we go, that's a bit better. And I think they were going from 12, 13, 14, 15 at the end, I think, there. I'm not exactly sure, but we're now waiting at the finish for Kasper Fosser, who punches here. And let's see what he can do with real sprint at the end. Will he be able to make that top 6? It's going to be pretty close. Kasper Fosser, and his time, he goes equal 6th, 15:45 for the Norwegian. Equal 6th place currently. Frederic Tranchant here.
Yeah, that was okay.
Yep, because you can cross over that if you go just that part. And Tranchant is too far behind now for me. 28th position is quite far down, in my opinion.
So I think we can count him out for the fight for the top 3 in the overall World Cup. He would have needed to almost win the race here to be able to get in these top 3 positions.
But those are the standings at the control we just saw there, right next to the lake. And Wouter Kral here. This is control 15. On his way now to the 16th control, where we will get that split time. You can see he must have made a big mistake somewhere, because at control 14 he was 52 seconds slower. So a mistake must have been made there, and going through this part to avoid the uncrossable wall is at 21st. So caught up a little bit of time, but some damage must have been done somewhere before control number 14, because Ben down into 52 seconds off the lead. So that is surprising for me.
And he really has to come into this to the top 15 to even theoretically have a chance to beat the others and get into the top 3. So he has to speed up here. I think it will be difficult for him. This is Daniel Hoopman.
And he's also lost some time between controls 6 and 14. Of course, we don't really know where there, but 23 seconds at that point between 6 and 14. A similar story to Wouter Kral, I think. And now we see Daniel Hoopman goes 16th. Just 5 seconds quicker than Wouter Kral.
Now interesting. We have to wait for Choi Hadon to this control here.
Waiting now for, here we go, this is Joey Hadorn. And again, something going wrong here, as it was 11 seconds the gap, which put him in contention, and now 55 seconds, and you can see that hesitation into that point. You can see maybe a mistake earlier on, starting to doubt himself, something going wrong there. But Joey Hadorn has lost a lot of time. Again, all of these three athletes we've seen in a row, Wojtek Kral, Daniel Hubman, Joey Hadorn, losing time here. Joey Hadorn 30th. In fact, he's 5 seconds slower than Kral and 10 seconds slower than Hubman. And not going to pick up many points if he stays in that same place. There is the opportunity. We know he's got really, really high top speed, and he could have the chance of catching up sometime. This looks like Matthias Kibbert's possibly into the finish. Here he is, the Swiss runner, and is he going to get into a new top 6 time? You can see wasn't losing much time towards the end of the course. Goes 5th best time here. Is 25 seconds behind the leader, Yannick Michels. Now here we go, and again, mistakes being made by Gustav Bergman. All these final 4, 5, 6 athletes losing time in the middle part of the course, and I'm afraid to say that the GPS is not going to be good enough for us to be able to say where they've lost that time, because we can't see in between these small buildings. But Gustav Bergman, well, it doesn't really matter for him. He's already won the World Cup overall, would have liked to have ended this season with a good victory here, but all these athletes losing a lot of time between controls 6 and 14. Very technical parts of mistakes must be made. Can we see what happens?
We see the different route choices here already. Michels choosing to go I think he did the best decision there. Hubman, I think, did the worst decision there, changing between the 2 route choices. Still, that can't be all of it. They didn't see. Okay, yeah, that's good.
39 seconds behind. Yannick Michels from Belgium. It looks very
It's still okay here. I mean, the gaps is quite big, and then here, this is another choice. We're choosing differently here. It's very hard to say where they really lose time with the GPS here not being accurate, but I guess it's, I mean, some parts, Hubman for sure, and both Hubman and Hadorn lost time on the route to control number 7, and I guess also here around the lake.
So I think Yannick will win this one. I'm pretty sure about it. Now I got the pre-warning also from Daniel Hubman.
So it looks very good for Yannick Michels to win this race, also the second race, sprint race this season. But we have to wait. Here's the first one.
Here's Wojtek Kral.
The group fighting for the top 3 in the World Cup.
Wojtek Kral, you can see it ticking down there, finishing 17th.
He had a good finish. He was 109 behind. No, that was compared to Matthias Peters out there. So let's see, he was 57 seconds behind.
So those are the standings at the second TV split. But you see, no, people have lost time there, like Albin Riedefeld dropped down. Yeah.
I think the most interesting fight now is the fight between Hubman and Hadorn. And here we have Daniel Hubman all the way to the finish.
And actually, I think he's pulled up considerably here. Well, no, it's hard to tell. Oh, yeah, he has.
Every position for him is very important.
So
now.
finish equals 7th. And actually, because he was 42 seconds behind, now being 27 seconds, that is pretty considerable time he's managed to catch up at this point, and also places as well. We know Hadorn is a minute behind, and he's chasing as well. He's got very, very high speed, so we will wait and we will see. As next to us, Per Forsberg confirming Yannick Michels as the winner. None of the rest of them are going to be able to challenge that, and the China specialist almost has won here today, as well as the sprint in Switzerland as well. Good over all sorts of terrain.
And now we can say preliminary result for Hoopman, 378 points. So Hadon only needs 10 points. 31st position would be enough for him at the moment.
So we're waiting for Hadon now. Let's see if he can overtake Daniel Hubman. Let's have a look now. He's going to be slower than his teammate, than Hubman, but it does look it's probably going to be enough to overtake him in terms of the World Cup points, and he finishes now into 15th place. Right, Jonas, you could do the maths as we talk a little bit more about Hadon, and so we can see at the finish 43 seconds down, so he managed to catch up a few seconds but not a whole lot, in the same way as we saw Daniel Hubman do. So Daniel Hubman must have had a really fantastic last part of the course, and I think that really is where he was able to catch up some of those positions. That's impressive, but here at the finish Yannick Michels can start to celebrate. We've only got one more runner still to see at the finish, but very good for Michels here.
And if I have the calculation right, it will be for sure Joey Hadon in the second place there, second position. But it also means that both of them will pass Olav Lundanes. So we will go not be in the top 3 there. It's not very much ahead, but still some points missing for Lundanes, if my calculation is right, for sure. I won't guarantee for it.
Maths under pressure, almost like orienteering under pressure.
And of course, I mean, Gustav still can have some influence on the results, but I think it's quite safe to say.
Yeah, and he was a bit further down. In fact, he's just punched the pre-warning control for the finish, and he was down in 59th place, so he's not even going to get any World Cup points for that result. So only the top 40 that get points for the World Cup, and you can see already, look, he's behind 40th place, so he's not going to have any impact on those top 40. And Gustav Bergman we can see him from the arena now. He's just about to punch this last control, and it's not been a very good run for Gustav Bergman today, but it doesn't matter. The last starter today, he's been pretty consistent. This will be by far his worst result in the World Cup this year, but he's already done enough before this race to take the World Cup title. And I'm sure he will go there and congratulate Yannick Michels. They can immediately start and compare routes. But let's have a look at the results here. Yannick Michels about 2 seconds lead over Maxime Roturier. A fantastic result from him. So too from Li Zhuoye, who getting a bronze medal here for China on home soil. Yeah, fantastic. What do you think?
Well, I think that is the most unexpected podium we have had in this season, maybe. I mean, not that Yannick Michels is winning it. He's a sprint specialist. We were talking about that before. So, and he has been competing in China before, so nothing new for him. But I didn't expect Maxime Roturier or Zhuoye Li to be in the top 3 here. So, great races of those athletes. Also, a great race from Gaute Halland Staver, and here we have the comparison of the runners on the GPS. And one thing we knew is that the Chinese Zhuoye did a great start, was in the lead for a long time in this race here. See here the group chasing behind. Choice also control 6 and 7. That's where we saw both Hadon and Hoopman taking the wrong decision. Also get the feeling that Michels was on the way in there into the wrong alley for some seconds. All of the runners choosing more or less the same route here. Here we see the Chinese runner and also got the Alan Staver choosing a different route compared to the other two runners. Still quite a big lead here for Chouillet. It'll be interesting to see where he is gonna lose the victory here. My guess is that it will be from the second last to the last control, or at least one of the last controls. Unfortunately, we don't have the GPS of Maxime Roturier here in this part. And interesting here, Michels decided to run all the way around. And it really seemed to pay off here. Got quite much closer on this route here. Had a very easy entrance all the way, very easy to execute this leg. And great speed here in the end. But still, Chinese in the lead here. Just losing time here physically on the last meters. So that was the reason why this
Congratulations,
man
Yannick,
here
on
from Belgium
the win
took
today.
his second
It was
World
really
Cup
hard to see
victory this season.
your full race from the GPS. Did you manage to make it a clean one?
I don't think it was possible to run that clean here, but I think I made two smaller mistakes, one towards control 7 and then one on the very end in the hill. I started to get really tired, and yeah, I was nervous. There was an extra gap in between buildings, and yeah, we knew, of course, before there were a few more gaps, but still I was a bit nervous, but I controlled myself, and yeah, I was happy the end was a bit more longer running leg, so I could push a bit more there.
And of course, you're a sprint specialist, so maybe a lot of relief to get your 2 victories in the sprint, your 2 main races of this year.
Yeah, of course, there wasn't a sprint race in the beginning of the season, no sprint at WOC, so for me the goal was the second part of the season. Together with my coach, we really worked hard the whole summer towards Switzerland and this, and I'm very happy to show twice that sprint is still my main aim, and I can achieve my best results in this.
You've been to China a lot. What do you love about this terrain?
I've been now eight time here, and I think that it helped me today. I've been running in this kind of terrain. Of course, you still have to do it, and it was tricky enough, a really cool course, but I managed it, and it was a very, very tight victory, so I'm pleased with it.
And this must give you a lot of confidence heading into the Sprint World Championships next year.
After I've been focusing now on this elite orienteering, I think almost for 7-8 years now, and I think it needs to step up, and hopefully I can finally get that medal at the World Championship.
Well, congratulations today.
Thank you.
So this was Yannick Michels from Belgium, as I said before. Second victory this season for Michels, second time in the sprint, 15 minutes and 18 seconds. Also, first top 3 for Maxime Roturier from France, only 2 seconds away from the victory. And then also for the first time on the podium of a World Cup race from China, Li Chouillet, only 5 seconds behind. And we have seen it was mostly physically in the very end that he lost time. So it was very close to win this race here. Andreas Kiburtz on 11th position in his very last World Cup race here in China. And also we have seen that The 15th position for Joey Hadorn was enough to get into second position in the overall World Cup. At least according to my own calculations. I'm quite sure that we will see the standings right after this.
We will have a flower ceremony for these top 3 in the men's sprint, the final event of this World Cup 2019. Joy Lee getting the 3rd place today. Maxime Couturier from France in the 2nd place. And Yannick Michels, the winner today. Receiving their flowers in front of the crowd before results are made official a bit later on. So now we will move on shortly to the women's competition. After seeing the men's very, very tight competition, and a lot of people actually losing time to some of the controls in the middle part of the race, some of those route choice controls. We know some people struggling with the pace and the early stages where you really have to be spot on with the orienteering. You can't make too many hesitations. You've got to keep that high speed, and then opportunity at the end to try and maybe with fast running pick up some few seconds. And I'm sure we will see a lot more of that in the women's competition, the women's race. We've had a lot of the starters of the women already go round the course, but the top 40 in the World Cup standings, they've had a little break of an hour, and then the top 40 are about to get underway. And we will begin to focus on the women there. Our first starter will be Galina Vinogradova. In fact, she has already begun her course. Now we can confirm these are the current standings in the World Cup. Tove Alexanderson has won every single World Cup race, individual race, I want to say, and she's aiming for the clean sweep today. But Natalia Gempeler, Simona Aebersold, Sabine Hauswirth all are battling for the top 3 positions. Sabine Hauswirth has a very outside chance of making it, but it is mathematically possible, so we're going to include her at the moment. But those main battle we know between Aebersold and Gempeler. Now let's have a look at this map for the women.
The women will start into the same area as the men, but not really as. They will not be there as long as the men, so only a few controls there until we are at the TV control. Then we won't have this route choice there between 5 and 6 as we have seen in the men's race. Different loop also here in this middle section. My guess is it's kind of the same characters we've seen in the men's race. We'll have this first very technical part, and then a bit more air to breathe in the middle section, but not as many route choices there as in the men's race. Then we have the same long leg here. Actually, it's exactly the same finish, second part of the course, as we have seen before. And here, interesting, we have seen Yannick Michels running all the way around to the left, and that was a good decision in the men's race. It was one of the decisive part in the men's race. And then this long leg here to control 20 and back to the arena, into the finish. So quite a similar course when it comes to the characteristics, not exactly as many route choices. But we will also see this tricky part in the beginning, and also in the middle sections there are some controls where you have to be careful for sure.
So that is the full course, and we've got those similar controls that we'll see. This is the second TV split, well, the control before the second TV split here. Again, estimated winning time of 15 minutes. 1 minute starting interval with the World Cup winner already, Tove Alexandersen, starting last.
You can say that the leader in the finish at the moment, Josephine Shanlin, already is under those 50 minutes, 14 minutes, 37 seconds.
And this is the route out from the start, so you head along the waterfront and then you immediately into these tiny alleyways, hopefully not too many people out there to bump into, and you've got to try and minimize all the clutter, keep it simple, and keep the high speed with and the changes of direction and everything too. It's pretty relentless here. And that's where the second control is meant to be.
But I mean, you can see in the picture, you don't really have a lot of time to relax in your head. You have to be ready to do the job and try to be ahead in your map reading. Otherwise, it's easy to lose contact. And once you lost contact, I think you will lose a lot of time as well.
Yeah, we've seen some significant time losses already. So this is a start list. We have already had a good proportion of the runners already start, and so we've had about 60 runners already go around and complete the course. And then there was a bit of a gap into some of the top 40 runners in the top 40 in the world. They will go off later. So then, and of course, we have Tove Alexandersen last. Any names you want to pick out here, Jonas?
Yeah, I would go for Teresa Janošíková from the Czech Republic, a youngster. She is proven, especially in the knockout sprint in Switzerland, that she is very strong. And then we also have big names in the very end of the starting list, fighting still for the second and third position. Simona Aebersold, Natalia Gempeli and Sabine Hauswirth. But as you said, Sabine Hauswirth, she might be too far away from, she has to win the race almost, and the others have to be outside the top 40 almost. I mean, it has to be very extreme.
Pretty much, yeah, very extreme like that. Yes.
So I would say it's a fight between Aebersold and Natalia Gempeli. And then, of course, the big question is Tove Alexandersen able to win as the first woman or the first athlete in history of orienteering every single individual race in a World Cup season.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on her maybe for this final event of the season. She's got all the wins so far, and this really would be making history with orienteering. We know she's a fantastic orienteer over all disciplines, all types of terrain, so we're going to really see if she can prove it here in the final event of the World Cup. Sophie Backerman, I think this is here, ready to begin her race. This is the start point, which is pretty much next to the finish. There's a Confucius temple that they run past on their way out here, and immediately into the map running. You've got to get your head right down as you take this short taped route out to the actual start control, which you're just probably running past at that point. There we go. And then delve straight into the really tough terrain here, going through this little archway, this little door, and then you've got to be able to keep the map contact and keep that strong orienteering. For the current standings at the finish, Josephine Schoenland is our current leader, 14 minutes 37. Jai Jung is in second place. Caroline Juttrup is in third place there currently as well. But it's definitely the last ones we expect to be the very fastest. And again, back at the start, Lisa Risby is the next to begin her orienteering. Got to really try and attack this course. And you can see she's gone the different route to what we saw from Sophie Bachmann. And now we have Alva Olsen here into, looks like she's on her way. Let me get the number right. Yep, it's on the way to the 6th control, I think. No, on the way to the 5th control. And Alva Olsen here, the seconds are ticking by. And a hesitation here. There is, I was going to say there's some route choice, but there's only one way that this is definitely obviously shorter, I think. And now let's have a comparison between Olsen and Shen, and the current leader at the finish.
And this is his first section. We haven't seen exactly the same part in the men's race, so these are different controls here. See that they, as it seems on the GPS, they were choosing to run same routes here. This is Sophie Bachmann from Switzerland.
Running to the 5th control.
And we see here already that Shuang Yan Hao has a big lead already after 2.5 minutes.
Sophie Bachmann again. There's a hesitation. It's not a, I think it's an easier decision from this control where to go to the next one on the women's as compared to the men's. But maybe this here, a little indication of hesitations going on all the way around the course. And if you're making hesitations like that to every control, then you can see how the seconds are adding up. Susan Bush. Is the next to start from Germany. You can see the clock there on the left-hand side of the picture. And gets the first look at this map. There has been a previous map published of this area that they've been able to look at and be able to plan some courses, and they've also had opportunities to do some training maps, some model courses as well, to get an indication of the terrain out here, and just getting used to what everything looks like, these very narrow alleyways between buildings. Lisa Risby, so now that's considerable time lost there. Almost a minute behind is significant, and oh goodness.
Not really prepared for what's coming.
That is probably the biggest hesitation we've seen. The fact that she's almost heading backwards, and
yeah, the thing is that you have to run a long way around, and she was desperately looking for a shortcut there somewhere. It's almost that you're standing there and thinking that you have to be able to get through the building somewhere there, because it's the first time where you don't have as many alleys in between the controls as you had before.
Isia Basse. Yeah, she's also lost a lot of time, 45 seconds, this early stage. Beverly Kasku on her way to the 5th control. A lot of these women choosing this same alleyway at this point. And you can see she's already ticking down, but you can see Zhang Yanhao 17 seconds faster than anybody else at this very early stage.
And now I got the punch from Zhang Yanhao from China at the pre-warning, and the gap is massive. It's almost 1.5 minutes.
So back to the GPS, Emily Kasiku and Josephine Kärnlund on those first controls here.
Seconds behind Zhang Yanhao from China. Victoria has a workshop really in second position, but 30 seconds behind.
You see that they choose differently to control 3, that's at least my guess. So here, hard to say where they're running actually.
Here in Sometime Village, where is Zhang Yanhao, the Chinese runner, on the way to lost control. There she is, crossing that point.
And now we get actually the Chinese runner, Wow Shamyan, to the finish. And she has a fantastic time.
Yeah, her time is actually something we really need to be thinking about. It's going to be a ridiculous lead, and you can see there she's going to be like just under a minute and a half faster than Josephine Chen, and so what a race from Hao Shangyan. We know, so 13 minutes 18 seconds is her time to lead, the 1 minute and 19 seconds, and well, she was.
Let's be honest, that will be
hard
tough
to beat,
even for Tove Alexandersson
yeah.
to beat. It will be a challenge.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I think
it would be unexpected if she would beat the streak of Tove Alexandersson here this year, but I mean, there's still many runners to come. But it's big gap there between Zhang Yanhao and Josephine Kärnlund. 1 minute and 19 seconds. 2 minutes faster than the expected winning time.
Yes, I mean, that's very quick, very quick. I'm not 100% surprised because she was 11th in the middle distance, and she does have a top 10 from the sprint in the World Champs in 2009, but that is really something else.
I mean, let's see and compare it to the other runners in the very end of the starting list.
I think definitely on the women's classic compared to the men's, there are bigger gaps in the field, and I think especially the last few runners on a regular sprint, we'd expect them actually to be making significant gaps over the rest of the field. So I think we just have to wait and see, but that certainly is a marker that's been laid down by the Chinese athlete.
From Poland, next to start, we are getting closer and closer to the really retro start today. The runners with most points in the World Cup standings.
Anna Bachmann through the 5th control. Top 20 position there. Lotta Korhola also on her way to the 5th control. Had a pretty decent start, it looks like, actually. And will she manage to get into 2nd position there? That's pretty good from the Finn. Had a good start to be 2nd at that point.
14 seconds behind Zhang Yanhao from China for Lotta Korhola, Finland.
Sari Antonen here into the finish. She's looking for a top 10 finish here. Here's the Finn. And sees the time ticks by there. She will go into 9th place, equal 9th place with teammate Sofia Hayanen. So Sari Antonen into 9th. Her time 15:22. We know not all the GPS units are working today, we've been told that, but we'll try and even those that are working don't really show us much we can talk about, but you get some of an indication.
But I mean, if you've been out there in the village, you understand why
Yes.
it is like this.
Yeah.
It's very narrow and, well,
No,
maybe
no
in some
satellite
years,
system, I think, is gonna work there. You can't get in touch with any satellites in
maybe
that.
we'll get another system in some years, but as the technique is at the moment, it's almost impossible to get good GPS data from those areas.
Serena Jensen begins her race. Strong showing at the middle distance on Saturday in Xichao Mountain, the jungle forests. Martina Loof and Cecilia Fribourg-Klusner both into the finish here, with Loof catching up Klusner a bit, but we're also waiting for Victoria Hestad-Bjørnstad as Martina Loof finishes in 5th place and Cecilia Fribourg-Klusner in 22nd. So we're looking for Victoria Hestad-Bjørnstad at the finish now. She is running and crosses the line now. I was just going to see her hopefully on the camera position here. She's gone into 2nd position. Her time 14 minutes 12 seconds, 54 seconds slower than Hao Shuangyan. So
That's a good race by Victoria Hestad-Bjørnstad, even also today after a good sprint relay.
yeah, she's impressive on the first leg for the Norwegian team.
Let's see here, some GPS. That's the arena passage.
And this is the gap between the athletes in 1st and 2nd place currently at the finish.
I think actually it's a good decision to go a bit more straight there. So we've seen the Chinese runner do. So here I think that's a good decision to go over the hill, even though we have seen Yannick Michels with an impressive performance on the route to the left. There, maybe, yeah, at least different exit there from Hestad-Bjørnstad compared to Hao. This is Sarina Jensen to the first TV split.
Pretty reasonable start, it looks like. But I mean, nobody is matching the speed of Hao Shuangyan at this early stage. But, you know, similar was the case in the men's competition as well.
21 seconds behind here. So here we have the GPS of Shuangyan Hao and also Sarina Jensen. So very attacking start here. No hesitation at all. This is Andrine Benjaminsen on the way to the first TV split.
Already behind there, but oh, that was okay. She could have kept going on that section. And now, yeah, so that was a mistake there for Benjaminsen.
Well, the mistake was to go back.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I mean. Yes, the mistake was to go back. She should have just kept going. Now let's have a look at this gap. 30 seconds there. Same time as Alva Olsen, who has recently finished in 15th place. 15 minutes 23 seconds.
Not sure if that was a good decision there. Let's see here. So here the comparison on the first controls, and we see this attacking start by the Chinese runner.
Different routes here as well. Possibly a mistake there from Benjaminsen as well.
Interesting
It's
to see.
hard to tell.
Would have been interesting to see Benjaminsen leave the 5th control.
Teresa Janasikova is next to start.
Still a junior. Did a great race in the knockout sprint in Switzerland, as I mentioned before. Got her first top 3 position there in an individual race.
And Vendula Hochechkova here, going on her way to control 5. This is the control, but yes, a lot of time lost at this point, outside of the top 30. And that's going to be a long... Oh, no, yeah she's changing the mind.
I think I've seen Andrine Benjaminsen do the same thing there, so that's why I would have liked to see her running away from control 5. Look at the difference here in the beginning.
Now Lilian Forsgren, and she is actually considerably behind the lead Zhang Yinhao at this point, on her way to control number 5. Hesitation there, but making the correct choice to get to the next control. And yeah, I mean, we've just got to say that if you're making those kind of hesitations throughout the course, that's really where the seconds are going to add up.
Oh, is it too much? And also way behind Victoria Hesta Björnstad at the second sprint today. The Swiss runner
Maja Sienaya is just beginning her race. Fast Finn. This is Teresa Janasikova on her way to from the 4th control to the 5th. And she's had a fast start. Janasikova, a very fast start. Now this is looking good for the Czech athlete. The Czech youngster who, we forget she's so young, having many years already as part of the senior Czech team. And this is a pretty good start from Janasikova. She goes into 2nd place here, 10 seconds behind Zhang Yinhao. And hesitating here, but does make the correct decision. So only 10 seconds, the one who's got the closest at this point. Sara Hagström begins her race out from the start, past the waterfront here, and immediately looking straight into the map to try and get some clues to number 1.
Well, I mean, you say only 10 seconds, but it's after a running time of 2 minutes and 39 seconds, so it's actually quite close already.
Yeah.
But still a good start for Teresa Janasikova.
Svetlana Mironova punching the 4th control, which is just behind the building there. And not quite the same start as Janasikova, as we can see. She will be dropping down there, but gets the correct passage up into the 5th control.
Many of the runners really struggling here with this route choice, which actually isn't really a route choice because there's no choice.
No, I mean, if you go the other way, it's that isn't really an option, really. But you do have to check that there's a bit, maybe you think initially you can go through, but there's red lines on there anyway. The standings at the first TV split, control 5, you can see they're confirmed. Shuang Yunhao with that 10 seconds lead. She's still got a 54-second lead at the finish ahead of Victoria Histad Bjørnstad, the Norwegian. And Maja Stina here takes the other passage towards control number 5. But you can see time already ticking there. And into 17th place. Lotte Kohola into the finish and see where she's going to finish. She has a strong one. It could be a new third best time. Let's have a quick look. I think it might be equal, yes, equal third position with Sophie Bachmann. So Lotte Kohola, equal third, currently her time 14:35. The gap to Shuang Yunhao is 1 minute 17 seconds. And it's just giving you more of an indication as these runners cross the line. It's going to be really, really hard for anyone to beat this time by Shuang Yunhao.
See here, different routes to control 10, even if it's hard to compare since the gap is quite big.
Fifth position in the overall World Cup standings, and over there is Paula Gross now on her way to the last control. Paula, let's see what the time and the current position for Paula Gross from Switzerland. Heading in here, and maybe in 6th best time right now for Paula Gross.
Very good race here by Shuang Yunhao. I didn't see any hesitation or bad route choice so far. What we've seen on the GPS.
Denisa Kosova here, and I think you can kind of tell from her running style that it looks slow. She's not really, you can really tell that she's, with her orienteering, she's not really able to push this as fast as we've seen some of the others.
I mean, she was not attacking, she's reading the map a lot here. So she is not really sure where to go or how to execute the route.
Let's see how she does it. And yeah, completely stopping. I was wondering if she was reading the next control, but no, I think she's really, really trying to be in the moment.
And that's
not the right.
A good decision to go there.
No, she's going to have to back out of that one. Caroline Olsen here. Again to this 5th control, trying to push it. And Caroline Olsen had a lot of injury problems this year.
Right.
And I wonder if her confidence will be knocked as a result of the mistakes that she was making in the sprint relay on Sunday. She made a series of about 4 or 5 mistakes, struggling to get back into it after making the first one.
Yeah,
and dodging the camera operator there.
And this is another mistake. Yes. She will turn back here, I guess. She's deciding to go all the way around.
She will definitely lose time there. Jakob here, also on her way to the 5th control, but we need to be looking also towards the finish for Selina Jenser very shortly. In fact, she's here on her way. She's already pumped the last control, so she's looking now for a new 2nd best time. Selina Jenser, she will be the closest to get to Shuang Yunhao at this point, and really pushing here. Will go into 2nd place. Selina Jenser, her time 13:57. She's 39 seconds behind Shuang Yunhao. We also had Alexander Hornick cross into 11th position. And absolutely knackered there. We start here back at the start. Simona Abersold going through this passage here on her way to the 1st control.
Now we really see the fight here for the second and third spot in the overall World Cup between Simona Aebersold and Natalia Gempel in the picture here.
Elinor Roos, she is also on her way to control number 5, and you can see she's already a few seconds behind. In fact, more than a few seconds behind now. Elinor Roos, who took that very decisive 4th leg for the Team Switzerland to win the sprint relay on Sunday, managed to minimise her mistakes.
I can also say that Sarina Jensen did a great job all the way from the first TV control. There she was 21 seconds behind, and the finish it's only 39. And let's not forget, this first part was only 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So most of the time she lost in those first 3 minutes of running.
So looking now for Sabine Hauswirth on her way. This just behind this building on the left is control number 4, and you can see she's already slower than Sheng Hao. Some mistakes, something's gone wrong at this point, because actually she's considerably behind and having to shorten those steps and really yeah, she's lost a lot of time here in this early part of the course. It still is mathematically possible for Hauswirth to come in the top 3 in the World Cup overall, but with a start like this, her chances are minimising very quickly.
Very soon we should have Simona Aebersold to this first TV control. Start 1 minute after Sabine Hauswirth. Here she is.
Simona Aebersold, and she's had a good start here. Has the Swiss runner. Very good start, and you can see she passes Sabine Hauswirth on the way back out. And does that influence the decision of Aebersold as well? Mistake there from Aebersold.
Oh, it would have been a great start here, otherwise 15 seconds behind now.
But managing to keep some speed there, 15 seconds is the gap. I wonder if she was put off by seeing her teammate going out of in that direction. That's not really what I think you'd expect. And this is a start from Tove Alexandersson. Now, she is really fighting to win all of the races this season in the World Cup. She's got a 100% record so far, but Sheng Hao from China has laid down a huge, huge mark. But if anybody can do it, you want to say it's Tove Alexandersson. Natalia Gempel here, and remember the battle is on between Natalia Gempel and Simona Aebersold for the World Cup. So you can see Gempel here. Where will she be? In 4th place, equal to Aebersold. So Aebersold and Gempel are currently equal 4th place.
But this is a mistake here.
Oh yes, very much a mistake. She should have gone right.
Back there, I guess. Hopefully for her. Quite far around there to this control, and then we see, take a look there between control 5 and 6. There's no way to come down. If you head to the right there, there's a forbidden area. So you have to go to the left. And here we see that Gempel started to go there. Gets her GPS stopped now. This is Teresa Janosikova.
And what can Teresa Janosikova do? She looks like she's going to go possibly into a new second best time. Teresa Janosikova crosses the line. The gap is 31 seconds, so 13:49. She goes second currently, Teresa Janosikova. The very quick young Czech, and into a medal spot at the moment for Teresa Janosikova. Here's Tove Alexandersson. Let's see. Oh my goodness me, she's made a mistake here. She is really, really late, and now you can see, I wonder if she's panicking a bit here. Just trying to go into the other one, but you can see her speed. She's really attacking this. She knows she's lost time, but this is huge, this time loss.
I mean, this is, well, we see Tove Alexandersson running, but this is too much. It's 58 seconds.
68.
If she can turn this result into a victory, then
this would be the best thing I've ever seen. If she can overtake, I mean, like the most.
Would be more surprising than the men's top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we can see what happens.
Or even more surprising than the Chinese team result here.
She looks like she's getting stuck in this section. I don't know. I wonder if she tried to go into the wrong end of this control.
At least she was there for a long time. Maybe she lost her
contact
or SI device. I don't know. Sport dance. I don't know. It looked that she was at the same place for a long time.
So standings at that 5th control. You can see Teresa Janasikova, current 2nd place at the finish, also 2nd there. Lotta Kahula was in 3rd at that point. She's currently in 5th at the finish. Simona Abersold and Natalia Gempila equal points there. So that's going to be really interesting to see what she can do. Maja Sienoja here at the finish. Maja Sienoja in here. She's going to be down into 5th spots, but we're also looking for Sara Hagström as well. So Maja Sienoja here into, haven't got exactly her position, but we're looking now for Sara Hagström of Sweden, and this could be a new 2nd best time here as Sara Hagström crosses the line, goes 2nd best. 13:34, 16 seconds slower than Zhang Yinhao.
And we have a very similar development of this race as we had in the men's class before, in the men's race before. A big lead of the Chinese athlete in the first part, and then losing time in this last part, which is more physical, maybe more that kind of technique that we have seen earlier in other World Cup races. So it seems that the first part suits the Chinese runners very well. And here we have Simona Abersold in the picture, and she did a great job here.
She's only 7 seconds down on Zhang Yinhao after this part, so it looks like she's taken some good routes and probably catching up a few seconds on the lead of Zhang Yinhao between the 1st and the 2nd intermediate points.
And we know that Sara Hagström was able to catch 20. Say it was 16 here. 20 seconds, 19 seconds between this 2nd TV split and the finish, so there's definitely a chance for Simona Abersold to win this race, or at least to be in the top when she finishes here.
So those are the standings at control 14, which was our second split. We just saw Simona Abersold run through there into that 2nd place. Serena Jensa is where did she finish? She finished in 4th place. Sara Hagström had a fantastic last part of the race. She currently lies 2nd at the finish, 16 seconds down on Zhang Yinhao of China. So we wait, and we're also looking very shortly for Gempila, as this looks like Denisa Kosova into the last control. But we're waiting for Natalia Gempila. Here's Tove Alexandersson, and she is making some more hesitations here. And this is the 13th control. And no, because that was at her at control number 12, not control number 13, as she just dips into 13. This is number 13 here. We were a little bit worried about some going out of bounds there, but it doesn't seem to be a problem as Alexanderson now jumps this point, and you can see she's catching up time on the lead. But this is going to be a ridiculous run if she's able to catch up that deficit of 58 seconds. Alexanderson punches the control, 7th place, 37 seconds. She's catching seconds all the time, but really you're over halfway in the course now, and this is going to be so difficult to catch this one up. We will wait and see what she can do. This is Gempela as well. We're looking for her. And, oh, this is totally messed up. The GPS can't really tell anything there. Julia Jakob, though, into the finish, looking for 3rd place here. Goes 3rd, 29 seconds slower than the Chinese athlete. Here's Natalia Gempela, and that's bad news for the Russian, because that means that she's been overtaken by Tove Alexanderson, and she must have had a nightmare of a race. This puts it Simona Abersold into a great position for the overall World Cup, as Gempela is down into the 70s here. What has happened between controls 5 and 12?
I mean, we have seen her way out from the 5th control to number 6. She did quite a big mistake there, and maybe something more in the middle part there between control 6 and 13. And now it looks very good for Simona Abersold to catch the 2nd place here.
And this is, so now we can see they're very close together on this first part.
And now take a closer look to control 5 to 6. Here she chooses to go there, losing a lot of time there. Tail is 30 seconds, so she lost about, let's say, 35 seconds there.
And loads of hesitations there
Yeah.
as well. So as we see the back to the start again. So standings at control number 14. Simona Abersold 7 seconds behind Shuang Hao. And Simona Abersold has punched our pre-warning. She's a few seconds behind Shuang Hao, but well, we'll see what happens. It was 7 seconds, it's now 11 seconds, the gap at our pre-warning.
Taking count that Shuang Hao actually was an Olympic runner, so that's tough to close this gap of 11 seconds. So let's see here, Alexanderson and Gempela.
Looks like another mistake there, I think. She's trying to go and find the right section, and we're looking now for Simona Abersold, and she is towards the finish. She's going to punch the last control very fast, but I think it's going to be too much for Simona Abersold to do, as you see Sabine Halsted into the top 10, and Abersold, you see she is behind now. So Abersold into the finish. She's looking for the 2nd spot, and Abersold crosses the line into 2nd place, 10 seconds behind Shuang Hao. And looking at the start list, we've only got Natalia Gempela and Tove Alexanderson to come. I mean, you've got to hand the victory to the Chinese athlete here, Shuang Hao.
I have to say, I really hope those Chinese athletes are coming more often to Europe, because obviously they are great sprint orienteers, and also Shuang Hao is a great orienteer in the forest, as we have seen in the middle distance. So I really hope they will be in the World Cup more often, because obviously they are very competitive.
I don't think so. So the Chinese on their way to the first ever Chinese win in the World Cup event. We have Li Suye in 3rd position in the men's race, and here we have Shuang Hao in top of the women's race. And still no punch from Tove Alexanderson at the pre-warning. Still waiting, and Natalia Gempela, as you saw, she was behind the Tove.
So, Catherine, I wish you good luck with the interview later on.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do with that one. The standings are at the finish with that. We just seen Simona Abersold at the finish, went into 2nd place. Still a lot of Swiss runners in that top 10. In fact, half of those runners in the top 10 are Swiss. A good result as well. Teresa Sikova and Victoria Hestad-Bjørnstad, we want to point them out too. A lot of more sprint specialists in this top 10. And we've got the pre-warning punch from Tove Alexandersen now. She is 58 seconds behind, so she had caught up some of the gap to 37. She's dropped another 20 seconds in between the 14th and the 19th control, but she will be very shortly, we will be able to see her at the finish, and she will not be making history today.
But someone else will do.
Someone else will do, with the first ever victory for China in the World Cup. But it's, we're going to have to, I don't know how we're going to unpack what went wrong for Tove Alexandersen with the GPS looking like it does, but something has gone seriously wrong for her at several points around the course today. She had some fantastic speed, but Alexandersen here, the World Cup winner, it won't be the full house for her this year. You know, so many years left in her career, and she finishes in 8th position, 53 seconds behind Shuang Yanhao. And
credit to her, she was really, even after her big time loss in the beginning, you could feel that she still tried to do it. She was pushing very, very hard there in the middle section. That might also be the reason why she lost some 20 seconds more. So those are the top runners here. Shuang Yanhao, the first ever Chinese winner of a World Cup race. Sara Högström, Simona Apson and Tove Alexandersen. And as we had in the men's race, fantastic start of the Chinese runner.
As Gempler now into the finish, but she won't score any points from this race in the World Cup. She goes into a 49th place, so will not get any points. And now we have to think about what Hauswirth has done, and can she manage to...
Not enough.
Not enough
Hauswirth would have
points for her.
been... she had needed to win the race to beat Kempele. No, there's no chance for Hauswirth to pass Natalia Kempele. It would have been Simona Abersold in that
So
case.
Natalia Kempele will go 3rd in the World Cup overall. Simona Abersold 2nd in her first year as a senior.
And here we have the final results. As mentioned before, first ever victory to China. Shuang Yanhao wins this race. And here again, the comparison between the forerunners. And as I mentioned, very good start even in the women's race for the Chinese runner. Here making the difference here in this very first section of the race, where she has the gap already compared to Simona Abersold of 15 seconds. In the finish it was only 10 seconds then. So here 5th control to the 6th control, that's where we see Abersold making a small mistake to the 5th control, maybe losing the victory there. And Natalia Kempele with big problems to this 6th control. And also we see Tove Alexandersen there in the back of the pack doing the mistake, or at least something that cost her a lot of time. Middle section, we see that Shuang Yanhao is choosing to round to lake to the right. The other runners choose to go to the left. In this part, it seemed that Simona Abersold maybe would have a chance again to get back into the race. She was catching time there compared to the Chinese runner. We can also see here that Alexandersen is getting closer and closer at this part of the race. Here the difference was 37 seconds. Let's see here, last part. No problems whatsoever for Shuang Yanhao. Maybe not the very best route choice here from Abersold to control 17, and that's the last meters here of Shuang Yanhao on the way to the first ever Chinese World Cup victory in orienteering history. And in a very few seconds we will hear some words of the winner.
Congratulations on the win today. We're going to try to do this interview with some help with translation. What's first ever win for China in the World Cup? What's made you do well in this race today?
你今天是第一次在中国历史上第一次拿到了这个世界杯的冠军，你对这比赛有什么感觉？
其实我到现在都是紧张的。其实我出发之前，其实手一直在抖，但是其实我从昨天晚上开始就睡得不太好，我一直在各种想象比赛的每一个环节，我要热身的时候怎么做，就等等。其实我前期也准备了很多，今天真的是非常非常意外的一个结果。其实这一次比赛我的机会我特别珍惜，因为我们今年是中国队是主场作战，而且我练了15年定向，我想创造一个中国的历史，我想给自己和中国队加油。
It's the first time he's nervous yesterday, and also the dreaming of what the procedure today and what we could do, how to puncture, how to run all night. As here we be sort of nervous and the hands also shaking now. But he is this time is in China for the orienteering, so he would like to do the best in the China and would like to do the history in the China for the orienteering. He hopes he can do the best.
You said lots of pressure, feeling very nervous. You managed to keep your focus today in the race. How did you do that?
就是说你虽然很紧张，但是依然需要很专注，你是怎么样做到的？
我觉得这个就是运动员的精神，运动员的标准。我觉得作为一个运动员来说，所有的这一切都是应该具备的条件。就像我们一直在和国际顶尖的运动员学习一样，我们要不断的进步，不断的追逐，才能做更好的自己。
It's the spirit of and the dreams of the Alice. He hopes to do the best. So this is why they run here and also run the normally times. Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was the winner of the women's race, Shuang Yanhao from China, 10 seconds ahead of Simona Ebersol and 16 seconds ahead of Sara Hagström from Sweden. So have the Czech youngster Teresa Janušíková on 5th spot, 31 seconds behind. Other runners in the top 6 on 4th position, Julia Jakob from Switzerland, and 6th position, Sarina Jense, also from Switzerland. The World Cup winner overall, Tove Alexandersson, after 2 quite big mistakes, into 8th position, 53 seconds behind the winner from China.
So now going to hold this flower ceremony for the top 3 women today before the results are made official. And in 3rd place today from Sweden we have Sara Hagström. 2nd place for Simona Ebersol, and the winner today, Hao Shuangyan from China. With that lead in the end, 10 seconds was the margin today. The margin of victory to give China's first ever win in the World Cup. And there will be the actual official award ceremony for the top 6 will take place later on today. So how do you reflect on the way, Jonas, that this competition panned out today?
Well, it was very surprising results we have seen, and as I said before, I really hope that we will see those 2 great Chinese runners Shuai Li in the men's class and Hao Shung Yen in the women's class more often in the World Cup, because obviously they are great sprint orienteers. And it was an advantage on home soil. Obviously it was quite a big advantage, but great races of both of them. And also I would highlight Maxime Roturier, who did a great job today. He was very, very, very close to the victory. I mean, it's the first time in the top 3, and then he was so close to the victory. Yannick Michel's not really a big surprise. He would be one of the names to highlight also beforehand. And I mean, the other big surprise here was Tove Alexandersson, who didn't really succeeded to win all of the 8 or 9 World Cup races this season. She had some problems in the beginning. Would be interesting to know what exactly happened there. We just saw the GPS stop. She was able to catch some time in the middle section, but lost time again in the very end. My guess is that she tried everything and it didn't go her way. Yeah, otherwise in the women's race, of course, Natalia Gempele lost a lot of time, but I would say the other names up there are quite, I mean, it's not unexpected that they're up there, so.
Yeah, they're quite familiar ones. Well, that is it from China, the last race of the World Cup final 2019. We're going to have obviously a break over the winter, and then the World Cup will be back in 2020 with races from Switzerland, Estonia, Denmark for the World Championships, and Italy as well. That's where we're heading for the 2020 World Cup. And a lot of focus turned to the World Championships and the sprinting there. Hopefully we will be there to guide you through the World Cup next year. But until then, take care.
Bye.